for our first YouTube Live. We are on AURN Online in conjunction with Amplified Voices TV. This is where we're going to be weeknights on Tuesdays from now on, where I chat with different, just visionary people, creative people, entrepreneurial people, people who are at the intersection of all things culture and cool. And tonight's guest is entrepreneur, app genius, dot connector, Amanda Span. Yay.
For having me. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy to be your first YouTube live.
Yes, yes. I'm glad there's no crazy hiccups or anything. Like we were talking behind the scenes, and I was just like, this is still some of a learning experience. Like now I can tell people you have to use your phone, and now I'm understanding better the send a link system.
hmm
Whereas with IG, it's just they just send you a request, whatever. We're here. Happy to have you. Now, have I interviewed you? Was it for AURN the time I interviewed you before, or was it
I don't think so.
Ebony?
I think it might have been for another publication, but I'm not sure. It's
Yeah,
been a while.
yeah, yeah, it has been a minute. But yeah, let's jump into it. Like, first of
Mhm.
all, you I know you so you have a book coming out,
Mhm.
and that goes with your accelerator program. And I actually just ordered the book and I wrote it down.
Thank
It's I
you.
have yeah. I have an app idea, the essential guide to building an app without tech skills. And I'm gonna get there, but I actually want to take it back to like tell me a little bit about your journey. Like introduce yourself.
Ooh, I am originally from Jacksonville, Florida. I currently live in Atlanta, but my journey to and through Atlanta has been all over the place. So,
Mhm.
went to school here in Florida at Florida State. Did my master's at Georgetown. When I came out into the workforce, I actually was working in entertainment for a little while doing
Okay.
entertainment marketing. But entertainment actually has a lot of parallels with tech marketing. And so I was very, very curious about technology, but I just didn't know where to start. And so I
Mhm.
started talking to a lot of like senior people in the field, and I realized I had a lot of transferable skills. So I would just try it. So just very early on in my career, I started picking up clients and like, offering to apprentice with people and to work with them and just like, just do anything I could within their startup so I could just learn more about like ecosystem development, about operations, about how to run a business.
Mhm.
Simultaneously, I kind of had like an entrepreneurial itch where I was like, okay, I want to be in the founder seat myself, but also I felt like I knew I needed to learn a little bit more. Um, I got really good at like helping support startups.
Okay.
And so I started getting into ecosystem development. And so, what that looked like is just helping different ecosystems build up communities for startups so they would have the resources, tools, supplies, education they needed to thrive.
Mhm.
And that has kind of transformed into like tech based economic development, which I describe as like I help small cities and towns build their own version of Silicon Valley.
Okay.
And so that has taken me all over the world. And it is kind of a catalyst in some ways for me doing the work that I do, to helping non-technical founders build apps and build software products and turning their skills into software. Because, as I was traveling all over the world and going different places, I was just noticing a couple of things that one, there's no shortage of entrepreneurship anywhere in the world, right?
Mhm.
People are
Mhm.
entrepreneurial and have great ideas. However, opportunity isn't available to everyone equally everywhere. Additionally, when people were trying to start businesses, especially in like rural and remote places,
Mhm.
they would often only stay in business for like maybe like 2 to 3 years.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the reason for that was because they, a lot of them didn't have the foundational education to understand how to build a scalable business or how to build a digital based business or any type
Mhm.
of business with a digital component to it so they could
Yeah.
scale beyond themselves, right? So if you're a solo entrepreneur, your business is going well, but like it might crash and burn, not because there isn't a demand for it, just because you can't keep up with it, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to encourage more people to learn about, digital based entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Then simultaneously, like I had jumped in the founder seat myself. So leading up into me, being becoming a founder and starting my portfolio of apps, I had co-founded, America's first accelerator for immigrants, for African immigrants.
Okay.
And that just taught me a bunch about, work, just work on the continent. And then I actually had the opportunity to do a lot of work in the Caribbean as well. And so then I started to build my own portfolio of apps, and I found it a little challenging. Like, I lost a bunch of money on my first app, because I just didn't know what I didn't know. And I'm like, if I'm losing this money and I have more experience than a lot of other people in the startup ecosystem, it's got to be incredibly challenging for other people. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of what led me to it. Just I started getting letters and emails from people all over the world saying, "Hey, Amanda, I had an app idea." So seeing all of those pain points simultaneously at once is like being in the founder seat and understanding how challenging it was for myself, being in the ecosystem space and seeing how entrepreneurs were struggling with making these digital transformations and transitioning into tech, right? And then just knowing there wasn't a ton in the way of resources out there to
Yeah.
connect those dots for people, it just kind of made the perfect synergy. And so what really pushed me to act is when I started getting these letters and emails from people, I started getting letters from incarcerated people.
Oh, wow.
And that was just really powerful for me because I was just thinking, I could, if I would have got this information to them sooner, if I would have been able to package this and provide this to them, I think it might have changed the trajectory of their lives or to given them another place to put their energy in as opposed to, the thing that they did to get them into trouble. And
Mhm.
so, every case doesn't have to be an extreme like that. But I started thinking, for everyday people, everyday innovators, how could this look a little different for them, right? If
Yeah.
I could provide them with that information.
That's awesome. Jordana Jones in the chat says they've been looking for something like that. Me too. Me too, Jordana. um, okay, this is all fascinating. And like I know that at this in this day and age, right? Like it's almost impossible. Maybe it's possible, but I feel like it's impossible to have a business without a digital component,
Mhm.
like some kind of social media presence. I know for me, like even if I'm like interested in the business and not go to their website and they don't have a website or the website is janky, like that ruins the experience for me. And it almost
Mhm.
makes me like, I'm just like, I can't even do it. Like, and I know I'm just one person, but I can imagine that on a larger scale. Um, but when you start to get into like apps and stuff, that might even be even more overwhelming, like even especially for people who don't know how to code or maybe they don't know who to partner with and stuff like that. But I'm curious, what are some of the trends that you're seeing in terms of like small businesses in particular who are leaning into apps as a component to their business?
Well, I think, to your point, we do need some degree of digital enablement for both most businesses now. But I think there's also kind of this catch 22 where there's a degree of charm of having still like, personality and just having a hands-on experience, right? Like people still
That's
want to feel like a degree of intimacy when they step into your business. And so I
Mhm.
think people right now are trying to figure out how can I leverage, closeness, intimacy, and offering a tailored approach and a tailored touch to my business while still making it scalable, right? Because we're
Yeah,
we're burning, the candle at both ends right now. And so it's just like, how do we make this more scalable and more digitally enabled so that I can run a business and still have a quality of life while still
yeah,
offering people a great experience? And so I think everyone's figuring that out for themselves. But fortunately, there's a lot of new, like great tools in which we can do that. And some of the trends that we're starting to see is things like vibe coding. I don't know if you're familiar with that
mm,
term, but it's the process of creating apps or creating software. You can do
mm,
websites, you can do apps, um, in the same way that you would write a prompt
okay,
into ChatGPT. So
okay,
you would go on a platform like Computer or like Lovable, and you would type in a prompt, but you need to type it and engineer it in a way that it gives the software a full picture of what you're trying to build, like your
oh wow,
business model, like how you want it to look, what the end user is going to experience, what the
mhm,
aesthetic is going to look like, what payment processors you might be using. And if you tell it all of this, it will pull and ultimately build the product for you, right? Now, it might not build 100% of your app, but just imagine 40 or 60% of your website or your app being taken, having to be done by this software, right? Versus you having to hire a traditional developer to do that. Now,
Okay.
the developer might still have to do maybe like 20 to 40% of the project, but that cuts down costs significantly, and it allows you and just everyday innovators, people who don't have experience in tech, to participate in the game in a way they have never done before. So you're seeing
Mhm.
a lot of that, a lot of vibe coding and just using platforms and the tools like no code, low code, and AI tools to kind of usher a new generation of people into tech.
Nice. Okay. And so, how what are some of the ways in which people can make money from apps these days?
Gosh, there's so many different ways. I mean, what I have commonly seen in the students that I work with is people are using it to scale their businesses or offer ancillary services to their business. For
Gotcha.
example, I have a lady who is a speech language pathologist, right?
Mm.
And she specializes in working with people who struggle with spelling.
Okay.
And so what she did was create a game that that is like a homework assistant. So when
Mhm.
they, are out of her classroom, a lot of times people aren't doing their assignments or whatnot. But she gamified these practices that she has so that
Okay.
it's a game where people can practice their spelling on their own. But it could be great for people with dyslexia,
Yeah.
people who, even though it's like an ancillary service to her business and it's a complimentary upgrade to get access to this tool that will help you. That's fun, that's light. But now she can scale that out if she wants
Mhm.
to a whole world of people who are struggling with spelling.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so, there's what I encourage people to think about startups and apps outside of trying to build the next Facebook. Like you don't have to build
Gotcha.
a unicorn startup. Sometimes you can just make your life easier with these tools. So it could look like, okay, you could build a new business with it. It could
Okay.
be that you might build a complimentary service to your business, like maybe you just need a website, or
Mhm,
maybe you
mhm.
want to take orders for your business through an app.
Ah,
That
that's
could be
okay,
an
yeah.
option for you. You could offer a complimentary service to your business, right? Like, the speech language pathologist, or you could scale your business with it, right? I have another student who has used the business to kind of replicate, I mean, use that to replicate himself, right? So now, he's making X times amount in his business. And he actually made like
Wow.
half a million dollars additional in his business last year. He's on track to like make 1.5 this year, right?
Oh my goodness.
Because, he's been working by himself for years and years and years. And now he can replicate himself with a software solution. And so it just opens up a world of possibilities. And I say, like, the next wave of like startup businesses aren't necessarily going to be unicorns. They're going to look more like zebras. Um, and they'll be a lot more diverse, and they'll be mid-sized businesses because I think there's a
Mhm,
lot of
mhm.
promise there that we have largely ignored over the past umpteen years.
Yeah, yeah, and like, okay, this might sound silly given everything you just said, but like, so like, let's say somebody has a restaurant, right? And maybe they don't want to be on, any other popular delivery services. Could they possibly then just create an app and say, hey, if you want to order from here, just go to our app instead of, you know, whatever eats or whatever. Is that
Absolutely,
possible?
absolutely.
Wow.
Because I mean, I don't know much about the restaurant space, but I do know that they cut into the margins
Yeah.
of restaurants. So it could behoove you to have an app for your restaurant. Now,
Mhm,
the way
mhm.
you might want to go about that, like we could explore, and we talk about things like this in our program, and we explore these things in the book as well. So, just to give you guys context, my book, I have an app idea. It provides a four-step framework called ID3.
Mhm.
That framework covers ideation, design, development, and deployment. That we've built a program based on the book that we partner with economic development entities as well
Mhm.
as
Mhm.
HBCUs and colleges and universities to deploy this program out so that people get coached live and understand how to build an app, and they get the support of experienced app entrepreneurs kind of guiding them through the process. But it's
Okay.
based on the framework in the book. Okay. So that said, what we try to teach our entrepreneurs is one, that foundational education, and then secondly, just provide them with a pathway to make the most educated decisions based on the information
Mhm,
they do have
mhm,
now, right? So what this looks like is, if I'm a restaurant owner and I want to, scale my business with an app, or I want to be able to take additional orders with an app because I don't like the Grubhubs, the DoorDashes, and things like that. I don't like them cutting into my margin. Let's figure out the best way to make an app for my lifestyle and for my budget, right?
mm,
So
mhm,
maybe I don't
mhm.
have $10,000 right now to pour into an app and work with a developer to do so. So what options do I do have? I can vibe code that app, right? But maybe I don't have
Mhm.
a lot of time because I'm in the restaurant running that day to day. Or I can use like no code and low code tools where they have app templates that I can drag and drop an app and put it together in a couple of hours. A lot
Wow.
of the popular no code and low code platforms have templates for very popular businesses. So, like if you have a business like a gym, if you have a business like a restaurant, they have pre existing templates for you where you can just slap your logo on it, put your colors, and have it up and running in a matter of days. Right. So you can get it done in a couple hours, but uploading it to the app store and things like that might take a couple of days. And so
I was wondering about that, yeah.
yeah. So there's lots of different options for you, but you just have to. It's my job as an app educator to make you aware of like the process of building that app. Right? How do we build it the best, or take the best path for you? And then how do we think about managing and maintaining and marketing that app thereafter? Right? Because I don't want you to invest in a product or invest in a new vertical of your business that you can't sustain.
Mhm, mhm. What is it like how much would it cost to maintain an app?
It depends. It all
It d
depends on what
okay,
type
I
of
figured
apps,
that.
right? So, like,
Yeah.
if you were to take the approach of doing the low code or no code apps, which typically, I typically recommend that for people who have like a freestanding or existing business or like nonprofits. Because a lot of
Mhm.
times people aren't necessarily looking to per se like build another business with it. They have an existing entity, they have a brick and mortar or whatnot, and they just need to solve a problem within it. So like
Mhm,
for
mhm.
example with the nonprofits, oftentimes they're looking to convene people, they're looking to have their own private community, right? But they're not thinking about building an enterprise level app, right? They're just looking
Yeah.
to convene the 200 people who are involved with their nonprofit community all in one place, so and have all those collective things that are outside of like a Facebook, you know?
Mhm, mhm.
And so the no code and low code apps might work better for them. Now that's a lot less maintenance than building what we like to call a native app, which is an app that is built for one platform or the other.
Wow,
So it's built
okay.
exclusively for, iOS, or built exclusively for Android, right? So those no code and low code platforms, it's just like logging into a website and then you have your account there. If you need to make changes or iterations to that app, you can just do it from there. That's a lot less maintenance than having like a native app where if you want to make big changes, you might have to go into the code and hard code that change. Right.
Mhm.
So, but there are pros and cons and benefits to having an enterprise level app. Like if I'm IBM and I need to build an app, right? We likely won't be able to build the solution on like a no code or low code app because our needs are very different. We have a multi-nation corporation that we're running and everyone
Yeah.
needs access to it. And so it looks a little different. So it depends on the size and scale, your budget, how much time and capacity you have to managing something like that. So yeah,
And I'm not sure if we mentioned this, that the book is coming out March 10th. So that's
that's
like right around the
correct.
corner, right? And
It
it's a
is.
compliment to the app accelerator
Mhm,
program,
mhm.
right? So tell me about the actual program. Like how do people get in touch with you? How does it unfold?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we run the program in two ways. We have an online school. You can find it. We have access to it on school. So skool.com/ the app accelerator. So if you
Okay.
just go look on school or just Google school, the app accelerator, you can join that program online. But we also run private programs in which we
Okay.
partner with economic development entities and we partner with colleges and universities. So we just expanded access to the program to every HBCU in the country. So
Mhm.
we're really excited about that. And then we, work with different entities around the world who are looking to build startup or to leverage startup entrepreneurship as a form of economic development. So essentially, we just wrapped up a program in the Virgin Islands. We've been running that program for a few years now, and we just had 40 people complete that cohort. And
Oh,
the
wow.
way the Virgin Islands is thinking about it is they're not a traditional tech ecosystem, and if
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
want people to have tech-based startups in their territory, then they have to build them from the ground up, right? So they can't just start like a startup support program and expect people to know all the foundational elements that they need to know to build those startups and have them be scalable and successful. And so that's what the app accelerator comes in and does, right? It's a 15-week program. It's a training program, and it holds your hand through the process, right? So first we go through ideation. We teach you how to build a business around your app idea. Then we go through design. We teach you how to design that business for your target audience, because a lot of times we as founders have ideas in our head about like what we think that product should look like and how it should feel, but that is not how our customers, our end users, need to receive it, right?
Right.
Then we go into what we kind of just talked about, is picking the best development path for you. Is that you working with a developer, right? Is that you finding an agency? Is that you working with a freelancer? Is that you doing low code or no code? Is that you doing agentic AI or vibe coding, right? It all really depends on your budget, your lifestyle as an entrepreneur, how much time you have to dedicate to this, and your capacity again. And then lastly, we teach you how to deploy that app. So how do you get that app out to the store, right?
Mhm.
Right? And then where is the best place for that app to live so that the right people can find it, and we create a pathway for you to manage and maintain that app. And so over the course of the program, people are participating in live training sessions or pre-recorded training sessions if they're in the online program. They are coming in and doing office hours for group coaching so they can ask questions about their journey. And then additionally, we sometimes bring in speakers,
Okay.
former app entrepreneurs and things like that, who can tell them a little bit about their journeys as well. And yeah, over the program, the goal is for them to walk away with an app. People use it in different ways. Like, people are all at different starting points. We occasionally have developers who come through the program, because that was actually a surprise for me, because I'm like, what are developers doing in my program for non-technical founders? But a lot of developers tell me that they've never been taught how to build a business around their skills. Right.
Okay.
And so they're like, yeah, I've built all these apps, but they go nowhere. They just sit on my computer, right? And like no one ever finds them. And so they're missing that design element, right? Where they're like, hey, I'm building apps. I know how to build them, but I'm not designing them for the people that need them, and I'm not solving the problem for them in a way that makes sense for my target customer, right? And so we help them with that. We help the entrepreneur who wants to scale or grow their business. We help
Mhm.
the person who is sitting on this app idea for the past 10 years and doesn't know where to start with it, right? So we help and support all of those people by providing them with that foundational education, and then providing them with a step-by-step framework where they have to complete assignments and they incrementally build their apps along the way. And they do it with the support of a community and experienced app founders who are helping them to get to the finish line without wasting a bunch of time or a bunch of money. Like um, the average non-technical founder loses around $50,000 when trying to build their first app,
Wow.
right? And so we want to prevent that. We want to mitigate that for you, ensure that this is a smooth process, that you're not losing a bunch of time and money, and that you are, getting out of this in a couple of weeks as opposed to 2 years.
Wow, 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 and I wanna add, because this jumped out at me in the description, about the work that you do. So Robert F. Smith, he's a billionaire philanthropist, and I think he famously paid for some Morehouse graduates,
He paid off. I
tuition.
think the 2019 class of Morehouse, he paid off
Yeah.
all their student loans.
Yeah, 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 that's what it is, but he said he described your program as a bridge to opportunity.
Hmm.
This is wow, this is cool. This is just such a cool way to think about apps. And it's funny, I've been, we've been connected for years, and I've always been fascinated by the work that you do, and I'm always like, "But what would an app be?" I know if I make an app, I probably would want it to generate income in some way for
For
me as a
sure.
writer. I
You
don't.
want it to be a business, not an expensive hobby.
Yeah, yeah. Especially the way things are going now. Like, I was one of the people that I broke into tech, right? I
Yeah.
ended up being a UX designer,
Mhm.
and like my last gig, my last job, they started using more and more AI, and they were like, y'all gotta go. So it's like
Mhm.
it's about pivoting and so this is eye-opening. And actually, since I'm here, since I'm discussing AI, tell me about the integration of AI with the app world. Like, I guess, like, how can we use AI for good? Because I think you there's all these horror stories, right? Like about me even saying I lost my job because they were using AI. But like, how can we use it for good, and how do we bridge it with the work that you're doing and all that good stuff?
My personal thought is that the AI bubble is going to burst for some
Okay.
to some degree. I mean, I look at it to some degree as that, like, yeah, some jobs aren't coming back, right?
Mhm,
And that's the
mhm,
reality of things. And we go through this every umpteen years in the professional world, right? We think
mhm,
about, like,
mhm,
at some point coal mining went away, right?
mhm, mhm,
And it got replaced by different forms of energy and things
mhm,
like that.
mhm.
So some jobs aren't coming back. However, I think there's an incredible opportunity for people who know how to utilize AI, right? And I think a big part of it is we got to find the capacity to start tinkering with it,
Okay.
because a lot of times I think when we are thinking about utilizing AI and exploring it and learning it and mastering it, we're thinking about it from a perspective of, okay, I got to make some money right now, right? But I think we need to integrate more like tinkering and play and just kind of the adoption of AI into our everyday lives, because I ultimately think and this is just my personal opinion, that the AI bubble is going to burst, and
I
what it's
should
gonna
agree. I agree.
yeah, I think, it just doesn't make sense. And I think the AI correction industry is probably going to be bigger than the AI
Mm.
industry, because AI is wrong a lot, right? And it's getting better. Um, but I don't think it ever fully accounts for human perspective and human
Yeah.
nuance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think it ever will in the way that some people envision it will. And I also think there's just some things and some services that people want a human for, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I think there will be a big self correction in the next few months to few years where people are going to start, revolting against it and saying, "Hey, I don't want AI in this thing." Now, on the other side is to kind of go back and answer your question. I think to our conversation earlier about vibe coding. That's an easy way to kind of adopt AI into your toolbox, right? It's a
Mhm.
great way to
Mhm.
start. We all use the Chat GPTs, the Claudes, and things like that. But now you can start using those same skills in that prompt engineering to build software, right? So I think that's a great opportunity, and I think it's a great thing that you can add to your resume. I
Mhm.
think for as far as AI, as far as development is concerned, it is shaking things up with developers. I think developers are not necessarily going away, but the way that they work will be altered as a result of it. So I think what this will look like is more productized services. So developers will actually be able to take on more clients, right? But with smaller service offerings,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
instead of saying, okay, well, I'm going to build this app with you and this app for you, and it's going to take me 10 weeks per se. I'm going to build this app for you, and I'm going to take on three other clients who might want similar apps, right? Like, let's say it's like a doctor's office and all these doctors need apps for their office or whatnot. I can take on all of these doctors' offices once because it's only going to take me 2 weeks to build this app now,
Wow.
right? So they can rinse and repeat that service to certain industries. So I just think that the way people will work will look differently, but we just have to learn the technologies and get more familiar with them in order to use them to our advantage.
Nice. And I hope with like so many people being laid off that we all figure out ways to, whether it's you know, app creation or not, but this is a great thing to learn about. But I just hope we all can figure out ways to sustain ourselves and not have to rely on corporate systems. I mean, I know what world we live in, so you got to get a corporate job, then you got to get a corporate job. But
For sure. And I think
it's
this is I
just
think this is apps and AI based development provides us with an incredible opportunity right now. Like, I think it's awful and it's terrible that so many people have been laid off in the past year. It's a really challenging time for a lot of people.
Mhm.
But I think it also makes us rethink how we're approaching work and what safety looks like. But we're also in the best time to build a product ever. It is easier than ever to build a product or solution. So this is the time to scale that side hustle. Even if you go back into the workforce as you traditionally knew it, I think it is smart and it behooves all of us to have a little something on the
Mhm,
side, right? To ensure that we have a safety net there, one,
mhm.
and then two, to better automate our work, right? Because they shouldn't be working us to death, right? There are
Right.
tools that we can master, right?
Yeah,
That help us to increase our output and improve our work for the future, so that we're not, again, burning the candle at both ends.
nice. Oh, Jordana said you inspired them to build a Claude bot. Is that
Correct.
did I say it right? Claude bot? Cloud bot?
I think it's
Claude bot?
cloud bot.
Yeah, that's cool. I gotta look that up. I'm assuming it's like an assistant, like
Yeah,
a bot is a
I mean, there's all types of like, AI assistants and anything you want to build at this point, you can build it, right? It takes some time, it takes some tinkering, but the tools and the resources are out there. If you're willing to stay committed to it, and like I tell people, like building an app isn't easy, but it's not impossible either, right? Like
yeah.
I won't say that it is the simplest thing to do in the world. It's going to take some work, right? And I
Mhm.
think that's the part that people want to like circumvent. They don't want to do any work, but in order for this to be in order for this to be a scalable business, you're going to have to put in some hours. That does
Yeah.
not mean it's impossible. It's not rocket science, right? But it doesn't mean you're just going to ease into it. I feel like the internet and Instagram glorifies this lifestyle. Oh, I did this thing in an hour and it made me $1 million. And
Right.
that's just not the reality for most people. You're gonna have to put in some hours to do this, whether that be in building the product itself or
Mhm,
building the
mhm.
business around it. Right. And so I don't want to be like the snake oil salesman who's out here telling people, oh, you can build an AI app in a day and then you're gonna become an overnight millionaire. Honestly, that's not even most people's goals here, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I find most people who want to build an app, they kind of fall into a couple of different categories. They want to solve a bottleneck in their industry, right? Like maybe they've been working in
Mm.
an archaic industry like insurance or something like that for 20 years, and they want to solve a problem in that industry. Two, they want to scale their business.
Mhm.
They've been working in this industry for umpteen years, but they've been doing everything manually, and so they want to increase their capacity. And then lastly, they might be sitting on an idea for years and years, and they just like this is their opportunity to bring it to life.
And, I you have seen some very important outcomes. I think you touched on it, like, with people who have gone through your program where people have been able to scale effectively. So
Mhm.
I just want to put that out there. You know your stuff.
For sure, for sure. Like I said, like we talked a little bit earlier, like the student I mentioned who had made quite a bit more in his business, he is an estate planner. And he
Mhm,
had been running this business manually on spreadsheets for years and years. We worked with him. He went through one of our 15-week programs, and he was able to produce an app by the end of the program. And we had to work with him to help him shift his thinking, because I think that's one of the
mhm,
biggest roadblocks. Is like
mhm,
people don't think of apps as a business, one, and then secondly, they don't think about the scale at which this service could be available to other people. So
mhm.
when he started his app journey, he was just thinking about creating an app for himself. He's like, hey, I need to increase my capacity. I want to increase my range of services to clients. But I'm like, if you're having this problem as an estate planner, there are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of
Yep.
other estate planners who are also having this issue. So we were able to build his tool in a way that he's able to license it to other professionals.
Mhm.
And so within a year, he made $500,000 additional in his business, right? And that was just his capacity. He also had like 17, it was some crazy number, like 17 new corporate partners that were working with him because now he had a scalable solution. They were able to see that, hey, we can scale our solutions too by way of being a third party, partner to your
Mhm,
organization and to
mhm.
your app. And so now he's able to license it out. So I think he's on track to do like 1.5 this year.
Wow.
And so I'm just really excited for him, but he's just a regular guy. He's a older man, Um, he's an older man, so he's just not a spring chicken. He's not like 22 years
Yeah, yeah,
old or
yeah.
anything like that, and some like tech genius. He's a guy who's been running his business for a while, and he just saw it fit to like invest the time and the energy into building a solution that can help him scale, and it's working out for him. Another student who they completed the program 3 years ago. They've hired 60 people in the past
Mm,
3 years, and just imagine, this comes from a very small community, but just imagine what that does for the community is one person is able to build a solution that can now bring income to 60 different families. So the goal is to create 10,000 more stories like that.
I need some of that to rub off on me. But I need the idea. I don't have the idea, that's the
You
thing.
probably are sitting on an idea right now. You have been working in media. You've been come working in media for years. You
Mhm,
know
mhm.
all of
Yeah.
the challenges. Like, if you were to sit
Okay.
down, and this is what I tell people, let's think about, like, when you get off this call today, I want you to think about what takes up most of your time in a week. Like, what do you spend the most time on that is tedious, that you are like, "This is a headache, and it is a necessary evil in my industry, but I have to do this, and but I hate doing it." That's where the problem lies, because if you're having that problem, other people in your industry are having that problem. Or you're thinking about, like, maybe how clunky communication is across, when you are, communicating with your colleagues. Those are the bottlenecks that you need to solve for industry level problems or problems that you're having on a week to week basis. But I'm sure if you sat down and thought about it for a little while, you were probably sitting on 4 or 5 million-dollar ideas.
I had to write that down because yeah, my brain be all over the place.
I'm sure you're sitting on it. You are a domain. uh, What I tell people right now, with all things being equal, as far as tech tools, with these no code, low code AI platforms, domain expertise is a new technical edge, right?
Okay.
You have deep domain expertise in media and journalism. No, 17-year-old kid is going to be able to build a product in the way that you do because they don't have your years of experience in this industry, right? So if you can learn through a tool like my book or through a program like the App Accelerator and make all things equal, then you're playing with fire there. Like, you are the next great startup entrepreneur. We just got to get you that foundational education so that you feel more comfortable in the space.
Well, how does someone contact you to become part of the program? Because that is a question. How do they become a student?
For sure. So I would definitely recommend, starting with the book. The book is available on all online platforms. And if you want to take the next step, because I think the book is important. I say this not just because I'm just trying to sell books, but the book is helpful in identifying if an app is even for you, right? Because
Mm,
I believe, like, as much as I want everybody to create an app, a part of my job is helping people recognize when they don't need an app. And there are tons of solutions that
wow.
you can use in lieu of an app. Like, you don't always have to go that route, right?
Mhm,
There are
mhm,
dozens of different solutions that can solve your problem without you having to make that commitment.
mhm,
Okay.
mhm,
So let's start there. And if you see it fit where you're like, I've read this, I've done the assignments, I definitively want to take the next step and build an app, then you can sign up for our school. Again, that's skool.com/
mhm.
the app accelerator. If you just Google school, SKOOL, the app accelerator, it will pop up. Or if you want, more personalized attention, we also have our programs that we run through the colleges and universities. So if you're in one of those locations, we open up our applications like basically every semester. And they applications are open to students in the universities, people who are alumni of HBCUs, as well as people who live within 50 miles of HBCU. So, that opens it up to literally
Mhm.
millions of people. So even if you didn't go to HBCU, even if you're not a current student, like if you live in proximity to one of these places within 50 miles of them, you can apply to enroll in this program and get individualized coaching. And we're constantly expanding our network, right now, to different cities, towns, economic development entities, rural and remote places, so that we can make this information accessible to everyone.
Nice. And I have to ask because content creation is so big, right? And I remember there's she's an influencer that I follow that created an app, and it was pretty much all things her. Like you go to the
Mhm.
app and like you link to the blog. And I remember thinking, I never would have thought about that. But talk about that, the ways in which content creators could even think about using personal apps, like not just being on like a YouTube or a Instagram or whatever. Like talk
Well,
about that.
I think a lot of times when we sign up for these platforms, we're not reading the terms and agreement.
Mm,
And when we post this content on there, we're essentially giving it away to them,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
They have some degree of rights over our content, so that's something we need to think about. And is if content creation is your bread and butter, do you want to have ownership over what you create and
Mm,
who has access to it? So that's one thing. But two, in the worst case event that those platforms go away, you lose your Instagram, your TikTok shuts down for whatever reason, or let's say there's been outages where none
yeah,
of us had access to
yeah.
Instagram or TikTok for the day, right? And for the past year or two, a lot of TikTok creators were fearful that this platform wouldn't even
That
be
means like,
available in the
yeah.
United States anymore. And if that is your bread and butter and that is how you make your livelihood, do you want it to put your livelihood in the hands of a third party platform? Right?
Mm,
It behooves you to start moving that audience into your own platform where you can create the content that you want, you can share or do the
mm.
things you want, you can make your own rules, right? And you own all of that. So if ownership is important to you, apps are for you.
Awesome. Okay. I think we can actually end there. I mean, is there anything else you want to add? I know you got the book coming out March 10th, the accelerator program. Anything you want to add?
No, just I encourage everyone to think about how apps and AI, especially in this time, can improve their quality of life. Apps
Mm.
and AI, it isn't for everyone, and so I don't, I'm not gonna go out here and try to give a hard sell as if everyone should just build a startup tomorrow. But if there is a bottleneck in your business, right? If you are thinking about scaling, you want to stop working in your business and start working on it. If you've been sitting on an idea for years, there are pathways for you and there are resources for you. I encourage you to get the book. I encourage you to join the program and to know that there are endless possibilities for you to pursue your dreams and to solve the problems that you're facing every day.
Awesome. And of course, I'm not quite sure how the live here works. I don't see your name or anything. I'm sure it'll pop up, but people can find you on social at the Amanda Spann, SPANN too, and then of course the replay. Anybody that's really interested, they'll hear the replay and hear that you gave out the way you said school.com.
SKOOL
SK.
dot com. So school just with a K.
Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Yes, thank you so much, Amanda.
Of course. Of course. Thank you for
We'll
having
be
me.
in touch. When your book arrives, I'll read it. I will
Yeah,
check
because
back in.
you're about to create some media apps. I already know. I already know.
I love it. All right. Thank you so much. Have
No
a good
problem.
night.
Take
Thanks
care.
everyone for joining. All right. Bye.